Hi everyone, Jason Price with Seer Strategic Solutions. We're going to pull some information today from the Microsoft 2021 Work Trend Index. This was a study of more than 30,000 people in 31 countries analyzing behavioral data from Microsoft 365, sentiment data from LinkedIn, and this study uncovered several challenges that are related to efficiency and collaboration for remote teams. We are all familiar with the massive disruption that was brought on by the pandemic last year. It drove us out of our centralized workplaces into fully remote work, and it created lasting changes to the way we work. This year, and for the foreseeable future, employees seem to want the best of both worlds. 73% want flexible remote work options to continue. And at the same time, 67% of workers are craving more in-person connection. How can that be? That is the hybrid work paradox. But if you think about it, it makes sense. So during the pandemic, employees proved that they could be at home and be productive. So the flexible work options that became entrenched are pretty much here to stay. On the flip side of that, humans are not robots. We are social animals. We need those person-to-person connections. And last year, going fully digital, teams became very siloed, and Zoom fatigue became real, and digital exhaustion is a threat. It's unsustainable in that form. That's the paradox. We want both. And on top of that, Microsoft's research found no single standard or blueprint for hybrid work. No one size fits all. Every organization has a different approach, and it has to tailor how it's going to enable collaboration to meet the unique needs of their people and their culture. All those sentiments are kind of encapsulated here in this quote from Satya Nadella. And what I see primarily is that productivity now is measured across collaboration and learning and well-being. And thank goodness well-being is part of this picture. I know there's a lot of movement now in the workforce. Unemployment is 5% now, and there's rising wages and gig workers, and there's a lot of competition for talent out there. I'm just glad that well-being is part of the formula. And if you look down at the bottom also, Satya talks about flexibility, when, where, and how people work best. If you look at the communication channels, then you can kind of get an idea of how all of our channels work for us and against us. So for each channel here, you can see a column for modalities. These are the modes of sensory perception or experience. Following that is engagement, which is the level of sensory stimulation and interaction between people in that channel. And fatigue factor, that's just how damn tired you are when you're constantly consuming that particular channel. So what do you see here? What trends emerge? The modalities that offer the highest engagement are in person because they have that kinesthetic modality. You can shake somebody's hand. You can sit across the table from them. You can see their pupils dilate when they focus in on you as you're making a great idea. So the engagement's really high. Also similarly high with video, where you have kind of that audio-visual stimulation. But also with video, it's the most taxing. The fatigue factor is highest there. Why? Because your attention is required almost all the time, both actively, you're actively listening and watching what others are doing on the screen, but also passively. You have to pay attention to the screen. You have to try and gauge exactly when to jump in to make your point without cutting somebody off. And of course, having back-to-back video meetings is brutal. Looking further down, you also see phone calls, voicemail, chat, and email. Is email going away? Not anytime soon. It's kind of critical, especially for external communication. And snail mail is not going away, but I will make a case that I think it's actually can be part of the experience. The question becomes then, from all of these channels, which should your team use and when, and how are you going to figure that out? Well, we make the case that you should ask them. So get your team in a room and have a conversation with them and identify the scenarios when, where, and how they work best. They are most productive. This is such a great conversation to have. You know, we're not talking a survey where the company is going to ask everybody and the majority is going to win out and people's specific quirks or preferences are not captured and addressed in their working environment. What I'm talking about is a conversation, and listen really to what your people are telling you. What are the things that they need to work best? Because then you as a leader can create that environment and provide that mix to them so that when you really need to, get something across or make a point or connect with them or ask them the right question and the timing on all of that is right, you know exactly what their preferences are. So this becomes the first best practice for determining how your team works best. And once you complete that discussion, then you can really start to dig in and define what are the norms then for those times where you are synchronously together in meetings and work schedules so that you can begin to accommodate those specific needs. Think about it this way. Your team meets every Thursday morning. They really like that. They want to keep that. But you might suggest, why don't we alternate the Thursdays that we're actually in the office? So half of us are there and half of us are working from home on video. And that way we all kind of get a mix and we approach it differently. Oh, and let's also rotate the hosts so everyone gets a turn at doing this. And it's not just my same monotonous voice every week delivering the same agenda. That also then forces the person at home to pay a lot of attention to what's going on and manage that. It also brings out the best in their leadership capabilities too. Thirdly, that means that because you could have anybody at home at any given meeting, you should always include the options for virtual meetings in your invitations. And then make sure that everybody's utilizing the same portal, the same internet, the same internal homepage or SharePoint site to access the same information, whether they are at home or they are in the office. Everything is together in one place, and you all have to find kind of the best place, where to go to get the information they need. And then this is the last one, and this one is kind of more organic. Maintain the everyday connections between your team. That means that you as the leader isn't necessarily just doing one-on-ones with everybody all day, but also engendering connections between each of your team members as peers so that they are maintained connected to each other, they rely on each other, and then you as the leader can also be the conduit for the company at large, cascading messaging down from senior management and sending feedback from your team up the channel to your direct supervisor. So each of these channels belong in kind of an omni-channel mix for your people. And I'm going to show you a baseline, which might not be ideal for you, but feel free to borrow from it because it's worked well with the companies I've worked with. So in-person meetings, great when the boss is in town for a monthly or a quarterly all hands. Get everybody together, take them out to lunch, do those things that you can't do when you're not together. An in-person chat and sidebars, these are the water cooler conversations. They're the #1 reason why we go to the office. The chance encounters with people in the break room, small talk over coffee, hallway conversations. It's really that connection that we're looking for people that we don't have direct work with every day. Video meetings are great for your daily huddles at the beginning of the day. We'll talk about an optimal mix for this in the next video. And then calls, of course, to coordinate your tasks or share screens, just so you can transfer knowledge about, hey, I can't find this thing on the site. Where did you put it? Recorded meetings. You know what's funny? At Microsoft, recorded meetings are the fastest growing type of content. Employees there kind of expect all of this content to be available to them after the meeting, whether they were there or not, so that they can consume it on demand and go back and refer to it at a time that works for them. I'm sure you can see that too. Recorded videos, great for announcements or broadcasting some really great news to everybody. Phone calls, these, and of course voicemail that goes with it, are your external communication factors. Chat messages, great for small tasks, question and answer. Warm intros. Hey, do you have a moment for a quick call? You can escalate that to a video. Message boards, Teams channels for your formal chatter or knowledge share. And then email comes down here at the bottom of the list. Now, you're not going to get away from it because it's your primary form of external communication. But I would challenge you that sharing information there can be more powerful. It's put into a different channel. Find those opportunities where people get their information best in a different form. And snail mail is very powerful. There's a book on my desk, Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian, given to me by my direct report, Zach. And I'm reading through it. I'm on page 252. I got it like another 100 pages to go. But guess what? Every morning I walk into my office, there's that book. I think of Zach. So it's almost like he's present in the room with me, even though he lives thousands of miles away. It is so cool to get something in the mail. And especially where that thing can live and represent you, I recommend that for rewards, framed certificates, little kind of tchotchkes, bamboo plant, whatever kind of best represents you, you can become part of that office in a physical way. And they're great for revenue, recognition, and rewards and the like. There's more to come in our other 2 webinars. The next one that follows is getting deeper into engagement. I'm Jason Price. Thanks for listening.